All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for today's TRU Snacks webinar. Snack-sized business insights every Thursday at noon. Today, we're going to be joined by Smija Simon, who leads our technology and process projects from our consulting group. And she's going to be talking about how to make smarter business decisions that drive analytics and business insight. Hot topic these days. We're seeing a lot of need in the marketplace, and there's a lot of conversations and advice that our clients and prospects are looking for in this space. So hopefully a timely and relevant topic for everybody on the line. A couple of small housekeeping items. As we go through the webinar, as we do every week, we encourage you to submit questions via the Q&A window. If you look at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you'll see a little Q&A button with a thought bubble. Feel free to pop those questions in at any time as we go. If they are exactly what we're talking about when you raise them, we'll answer them during the course of the discussion. And as always, we will save time at the end to address any additional questions that come up. So we encourage you to be as interactive as you'd like to be during this session. This is our typical TRU Snacks format, which means it's 30 minutes. We'll have you out of here at 12:30. It will be posted online afterwards. And we encourage you, if you haven't already, to sign up for our TRU Snacks mailing list to make sure you get the invites for these and to view the deck and the collateral and the videos on our website after the session when they'll be posted within the next couple of days. So thank you once again for joining us. We'll do our snack basket giveaway a little later in the session, so stay on for that to see if you will be the lucky winner this week. And with that, I'll hand it over to our very own Smija Simon. Smija.
All right, thank you, Steve. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for joining us again today. Before we dive straight into it, I do want to take us through what to expect in today's agenda. We will be covering technology ecosystems and how these have evolved over the years, as well as going into a little bit about how to think about systems in terms of core systems, process management systems, and decision support systems. And lastly, we will touch on some analytics fundamentals. And as Steve said, please submit those questions as you think of them. We'll either address them real time or right at the end. Thank you. All right, so let's step straight into it. So technology ecosystems have changed over the years. They used to be monolithic ERP vendor-driven solutions that were very hard to change. You had to live with whatever functionality came standard in the package, and a lot of effort was required to customize these. Whereas now we are moving towards a more integrated way of thinking about systems. So where you would have maybe your ERP system at the core, it's about adding on other tools into your environment that really truly give you the flexibility that you need and also meet all of the requirements. And you're not hamstrung by the large elephant-sized system that you purchased in your ERP. It was not uncommon to have pain points in the past of things like it's being difficult to get hold of integrated information because you have 80% of your information sitting in your ERP, and then you need to export that and then overlay it with information from another system to truly get the picture that you want about your business. There was not really a way to have standardized reporting or metrics across multiple systems because they were so disconnected. And sometimes the data definitions were different. So it could be small, minor things like the way you calculate a certain metric in one system was just ever so slightly from how you calculated it in another system, and the two never tied in. So you had to do a lot of massaging and backing information in or out to try and get one version of the truth and a single reporting view for your business. So basically, this is a good thing. We've evolved. We're going in the right direction. It's about being nimble and agile and being able to adapt nowadays. You can't be signed into something for like 10 or 15 years. Now change cycles are much shorter. So it's about getting the right technology stack in your organization to help you be adaptable to changing environments and conditions. So how do you go about building an ecosystem? Well, broadly, there are two ways. One, you can grow in an ad hoc manner, or you can take an engineered approach. when you evolve in an ad hoc manner, you typically end up having a lower maturity in your environment. And it doesn't drive as much value as it could for you. It does also limit your flexibility. The benefits, though, are that you can approach technology in a very sort of functional or discipline-specific manner. So, for example, let's say you're a technology services company. You know that you need some sort of tool for your service management capability. So you might decide, oh, I'm going to select something like ServiceNow or Zendesk or something that's function appropriate. And then you might have a projects team that has to deliver on like 40 to 60 projects at once. And they decide that, okay, well, for them, the best option is to work in Microsoft Project together with SharePoint or something like that. And then you have your accounting folks who are like, well, I'm going to have to bill and manage all of the revenue cycles related to all the services we provide. And they've picked an accounting package. It's all well and good because each department now has their specific discipline mature systems that they would like to work with. But inevitably, business processes intersect in a company. You're going to have handover points between, let's say, your service environment who needs to bill for a few out-of-package services that they provided to a client, and then accounting needs to know about it. But it's a little bit of a manual handoff. You have people emailing each other saying, okay, here's a list of what I needed, what I did extra. Can you bill for that in this month's billing? It relies on someone in accounting remembering that they received an email and adding it to this month's billing for that client. So the disconnected systems, even though each department might have the best in-breed tool for them to operate, it does create a little bit of inefficiency when you take the system as a whole. In a more engineered environment, you are thinking about your design with the end in mind. So you're taking a macro view of your business, you're looking at what your end-to-end business processes look like, where you need to draw the boundaries between the start and the end of the processes and which systems they'll be executed in. It's a little bit more conscious approach that you're taking to it. It's typically more aligned with your strategy because you know what that large, the end goal is. And it's about creating a flexible, fully integrated solution for your entire business. The drawback of this approach is that these projects can be quite complex. It requires a lot of process and execution discipline while you're doing this. So there are benefits, but there are also drawbacks. So you might end up having some sort of hybrid version of this, but we do see that the higher maturity environments have a more engineered approach in developing their ecosystems. Right. So what do these ecosystems comprise of? Well, at the core, you have ERP solutions. So these are the tools that sort of support I would say, 70 to 80% of your business. It's the core back office functions, so your accounting platforms. If you're in a manufacturing environment, these also include sometimes your inventory management and sometimes your production management. In a construction environment, this could be your job costing and some of your PM type of requirements. So that's kind of, I would say, the elephant of the savannah at this point. It's a bit of a far-fetched example here, but let's run with it. Then process management. So this is typically about functional excellence. So if you are looking for tools that need to perform in a way that's of greater capability than what came standard with your ERP. So, a typical example is the sales and CRM space. You might run something that's quite specific to managing your sales pipeline, opportunity management. You need a high capability in terms of your quoting engine, being able to have a lot of flexibility in that environment that perhaps a standard ERP package or a core accounting package doesn't have. So then you would look at a specialist functional and process specific tool. And then you have things that are decision support tools. So these are things that help you report better, drive analytics across your business. It's starting to build more cross-functional views of your business and basically orchestrating everything that you have across your other systems so that you can drive the right insights for your business. So a couple of examples of what solutions fall into each of these pillars. ERP, we're talking about the NetSuites of the world, Microsoft Dynamics, Business Central, or 365, Infor, Epicor. So some of these are more industry specific. So Epicor and Infor are stronger in the manufacturing and distribution space. NetSuites and Microsoft a little bit more on the all-rounder. They have a bit of everything mixed in there. On the process management side, you might have heard of a couple of these tools like AvidXchange for AP automation or UiPath for RPA solutions. That's robotic process automation. And on the process management side, it could be tools like Salesforce. So that's a CRM platform, or Procore in the construction environment that's used for project management. And also like Trintech is a bit of an all-rounder. They have a couple of close management tools and accelerators there. And Manhattan Associates, for example, has a strong warehouse management solution. So these are very discipline specific, if you think about it that way, whereas ERP is looking across functions. And then when it comes to the decision support realm, we are looking at tools that help you do your FP&A reporting easier, things like Profix and Vina. And on the analytics side, it's some of the tools out there like Power BI or ClickView or Tableau. So these are the software solutions out there that would help you string your data together across your business and create those analytics and insights that you might not have out of a single specific solution. So we're going to dive into each of these areas a little bit more for the next few minutes. At the heart of it, we do see that having a core and a strong ERP platform at the core is very useful. So what this opens up for you is the ability to have integrated information. So a lot of modern ERP solutions are open in nature, and what that means is that it caters for other systems to be able to easily speak to it through APIs or through integration, or they've managed to somehow expose the data sets out. But it also, within just the ERP solution, it's able to integrate multiple functions. So if we think, for example, of a manufacturing environment, the accounting system is now linked to your inventory management system, which is also linked to your order fulfillment systems. So instead of having run 3 separate systems to achieve that cross-functional coordination, you now have it in an integrated ERP system. ERP system can also give you efficiencies, so it can help you eliminate some repetitive processes. Maybe perhaps in the past, you might have had a separate inventory management system and a separate order fulfillment system. By having them in one place, you don't have to now manually upload daily inventory balances into where you're creating your orders from. So you have that downstream visibility. A lot of ERP systems come standard with very good reporting. And nowadays we're seeing a lot of the vendors, the key players at least, investing in analytics capabilities as well. So either it's native or they've built in already ready to go connectors to some of those analytics tools like we mentioned previously, like the Power BI or ClickView or something along those lines, making it easier to create those powerhouse reporting engines for you. ERP solutions also help you improve your customer service, because instead of a customer calling in and trying to figure out why their order is late, you have the information at your fingertips. It's not a case of, oh, hang on, let me phone the other department. It is something you can look up when your systems are integrated at the point of contact. And also a very important consideration these days is having security. We've seen a lot of cases of where maybe an older system or older technology, it's hard to control access to information. And sometimes you don't want everybody seeing everything in your system. So it comes with built-in security and user access control. So just moving on to a couple of key attributes to look at when it comes to ERP systems. Keep if you're like evaluating a few options out there, you're looking for things like a modern and intuitive interface. You're looking for what is the automation capabilities? What's the data transparency? So once you capture data in, how do you get it out? You might think that just because you've captured the data in, you'd be able to report on it, but it's not always that obvious or easy. We've come across a few tools out there where you think that you've gathered a lot of information, and when you go to try and report on it or filter on it or slice and dice it, it may not be that easily accessible. So a couple of considerations for when you are looking for ERP systems. Now moving to process management. So our approach to this is that not all processes are created equal. There are a lot of processes in your business that can just operate in a standardized fashion. There's some smaller portion of it that should be optimized. And there's that very secret sauce type of processes that you should focus your energy on innovating. A typical rule of thumb here is, think about it as 85% of your company's processes should be standard, and 10% to optimize and 5% to innovate. My go-to example here is, if your business is not a payroll company, you should just adopt a standard payroll process. Don't spend a lot of time coming up with the world's best payroll process if what comes standard in a package will meet your needs. But you might have another process that drives the value for you. Like you might need an excellent order fulfillment process because that is the nature of your business. So focus your time and effort on optimizing and or innovating in that space, because that is what's going to truly create value for you. When it comes to process management, we see it as a few key things that have to come together to give you that business agility. So it's about process standardization, but it's also about data standardization, and then also process measurement. Process standardization, you might have the same processes executed by 3 or 4 sites or locations or a couple of warehouses, but everybody's doing it just ever so slightly differently for some reason. Is there truly a need to be doing it differently, or can you be running it in the same way? Same thing with data standardization, making sure that you have common data definitions and terminology throughout your business. So whenever someone talks about a specific metric, there's a common understanding of that metric. It's not like someone thinks lead time is calculated by this and the other person thinks lead time is calculated by that. Lead time is lead time. It should be standard throughout the business. And that brings me to process measurement. What you measure is what you get. So if you're not measuring something, chances are no one's looking at it. So figure out what are those key measures that are going to drive the outputs that you are looking to have within your business. And ultimately, if you have all of that in place, you're able to create that business agility. All right, so now moving forward to decision support. So decision support, it is about moving from hindsight to foresight. So at level 1, it's reporting on what has happened. At level 2, it's what is happening now. It's more real time. It's a little bit more relevant. It's not historic and or out of date. And level 3 is what may happen and how to influence it. And that's when you're starting to move into the more predictive sphere of analytics. So reporting is level 1. Having compound and like cross-functional measures and leading KPIs instead of lagging KPIs is more level 2. And starting to incorporate like external macroeconomic type of factors and think about how maybe the price of crude oil is going to affect some input ingredient into your business. Now that's talking about what may happen and then how can you influence it. So this is just a little bit about, we see a lot of our clients as sort of somewhere between level 1 and 2, and like very few companies are truly at level 3, where you're starting to do predictive analytics. So when it comes to analytics, just a couple of foundational concepts here. So there's the concept of analytics where you're using data to provide deeper insights into your performance. Having the data is one thing, but also presenting it and into different visual formats is another. Like you can have a table full of information, but it's hard to see what that's telling you. So having that represented in a graph with a trend line, that's one step ahead. Having it stacked up against a benchmark, for example. So let's say you want to know how you rank against a peer set, and getting some benchmarking data overlaid over that, so you have a relative rating. That's taking it to the next step of maturity. And lastly, incorporating external data sets. So this is now moving into the realm of predictive analytics. The example I just shared, the price of crude oil, is that going to make or break some other downstream indicator for you? So saying, okay, well, you're tracking your business metrics, but you also have an eye on other external factors that could influence you. So when it comes to building an analytics capability in your business, it's ideal to start with the business strategy and also look at the org structure, because your reporting and your measurement needs to complement each of these. Having a good understanding of where you're heading, what your goals are, kind of sets the target, and also figuring out who's going to consume your information will help you define what you need to measure and how you need to present it. And don't make it too complicated to start. Start with industry leading practice and expand it from there. And this is something that you'll have to invest in resources. So it takes time and effort to pull together information, create these things. So having the right tools as well as dedicated resources to this is something that is likely to help in terms of being successful at it. And then also get help from experts. Find people who've done this before and get them to give you advice and get you started on this journey. So bringing it together. So synergy through technology ecosystems is created by having probably a core ERP at the heart of it. You might have to look at multiple process management tools in place. And also lastly, consider what decision support capabilities you might have to overlay across all of these. At the end of it, it comes down to your data needs to be great, decision ready, and this requires accurate and timely input first time round. So you don't want to be correcting last month's data next month and then having stale data to try and drive your business decisions. From our experience, some keys to implementation success, we just said, start with a strategy. Make sure that you are aligned with what is the company strategy so that you're driving value deliberately through your technology investments. Create an enterprise architecture. So this is having an understanding of what you need in terms of processes, people, technology, a blueprint for where you're headed. Always also focus on the user experience. You could put in a fancy new system and software solution, but if you haven't taken your end user needs into account, the adoption is going to be poor and you won't drive the results that you want out of this. And then lastly, rigorous project management. Whether it's a small implementation or a multi-solution environment, apply the appropriate project management principles to establish and drive momentum in these projects. Because you don't want to start strong and end weak. You want to stay strong through the process. All right, so that brings us to the question time. Steve, did we have any questions come through?
So we do, and before we get to those, I'd just like to remind everybody to use that Q&A panel at the bottom of your Zoom screen to submit questions. We've got a few minutes here, so we should be able to take any questions that come in. The first one, Smija, is just in terms of specifics. Are there any, this concept of enterprise architecture seems to be a little new to folks. And as we both know, it's absolutely critical when you're thinking about an ecosystem of technology rather than a solution-based or a system-based technologies landscape. Do you have any stories about why that enterprise architecture is important and kind of the pitfalls if you were to skip that step?
Right. Great question. I think I do have a recent example that makes sense to share. We were recently doing a project that involved 3 different solutions for a construction company. So it was a core ERP solution as well as a project management solution, and they were going to outsource their payroll. all these systems needed to exchange information between each other. And when the project started off, there was some sort of conceptual discussions and a number of workshops, but we weren't seeing a good understanding amongst everyone for about the requirements for this project. So we decided that, okay, it's now time to create a little bit of an enterprise architecture diagram for them to understand exactly how each of these systems need to interact with each other and help us drive the definition of what data points are going to need to be exchanged between each of these systems. These enterprise architecture designs are usually quite conceptual in nature, but they do have to be taken down into the next level of detail in terms of requirements, specification, both functionally as well as technical requirements. Because when you are exchanging information between different systems, you might be constrained by one of the systems. So for example, it's something small, but in the one system, they didn't take a character description of greater than 60 characters, but in another system, they were sending 150 character length descriptions. So this could make your integration fail. And to prevent things like this going wrong once you've deployed, it's better to understand them during the design stage and truly define what exactly is going to be exchanged between systems, what format you need it in, what frequency you need it in, and having enterprise architecture in place is one mechanism and tool to use to drive that common understanding amongst everyone.
That's great. The other one, it sounds like there's still people who are operating in multi-ERP system environments. And any thoughts on sort of how people should think about having multiple ERP systems if they're going to take an ecosystem approach? Can that work? Should they be looking to standardize or consolidate? What do you think?
We are seeing less and less multi-ERP solution environments, but more like going with a single ERP at the core and then maybe topping up those process-specific ones. So for example, where you might not like the features for your marketing automation and maybe CRM functionality in your ERP, you might choose a function-specific tool to add into that. But we rarely see multiple ERP solutions in play. It's not very efficient. Firstly, I guess the costs could rack up as well as the maintenance efforts rack up as well, because you're then having to configure and maintain a lot of core master data in multiple environments. Whereas when it's process-specific tools, it's usually just a subset of that. So recently we are seeing more core ERP plus one or two process-specific tools in the environment.
Excellent. Excellent. Great. So we're right at 12:30. Thanks again for joining, Smija. Thank you so much for the presentation today. Great job. For folks who join us every week, it's now time for our random snack pack drawing. And today that is going to go to Alex Choi from 16 Handles. Alex, somebody from our team will be reaching out to get shipping information for you there. Congratulations. Enjoy. The next sessions to be prepared for, we're going to have a special one for next week. Look for that announcement to come out Monday, Tuesday. If you're not on our mailing list, please be sure to sign up for it so that you get that invite. On February 25th, we're going to be joined by Rob Brown to go through the fundamentals of personal wealth. And his strategy does not involve a lot of GameStop stock, for those of you who are wondering. He's got a really good, robust framework to use for thinking about building personal wealth. And on March 4th, a very exciting one, hotly anticipated, we're going to be talking about robotics, which is a partnership presentation between us and one of our RPA partners called Planet Data. That's March 4th. So sign up for the mailing list. Please register for those sessions if they're of interest to you. And thanks again for joining us today. We are really excited to be able to sit with you every Thursday at 12 o'clock. And we hope you guys all have a great rest of your week and a wonderful weekend. Look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.